Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to the 2021 Critical Issues Forum Online Spring Student Conference. My name is Masako Toki. I'm the project manager of the Critical Issues Forum at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. This year, CIF students from Japan, Russia, and around the United States studied nuclear disarmament issues. Based on this year's topic, Toward a World Free of Nuclear Weapons, the Role of Youth as Change Agents in an Age of Global Crisis. The current global crisis of the pandemic has taught us the importance of further international cooperation and reminded us that tackling existential threats to humanity, like nuclear threats, requires global efforts and youth engagement. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to each one of you, this year's CIF participants, for successfully completing this year's project, despite this challenging situation. I wholeheartedly believe that you are the change agents. I would like to extend special appreciation to the former governor of California, Honorable Jerry Brown, for joining the conference today as a keynote speaker. Thank you so much. I am truly grateful to everyone who is supporting this program in a variety of capacities, especially during this difficult time of the pandemic. I would like to acknowledge that this year's project was made it possible by generous funding from the Tom and Sarah Pattison Fund and the Saga Foundation. Thank you so much for your continuing commitment to and support for this important youth education project for a safer and more peaceful world. I trust that the students who participated in this conference will continue to forge ahead toward that goal. Countries like the United States, Russia, and Japan are all playing very important roles in nuclear policy. Education in this field for young leaders in these countries will definitely have a positive impact on global peace and security. Thank you so much. So now we are happy to have a message from Ms. Izumi Nakamitsu, United Nations Under Secretary General and High Representative for Disarmament Affairs. So I'm going to share a recorded video message. I'm going to share my screen. I hope it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I am pleased to offer my greetings to the 2021 online Student Spring Conference of the Critical Issues Forum, organized by the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey. Your theme, Toward a World Free of Nuclear Weapons, the role of youth as change agents in an age of global crisis, is a subject worthy of attention and exploration. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to underscore the vital role of international cooperation in tackling common challenges, your generation can contribute important, fresh perspectives and create new momentum in our collective pursuit of a nuclear weapon-free world. The need for creative new approaches in this area is clear. Intergovernmental disarmament forums remain paralyzed amid politicization and geopolitical rivalry. Meanwhile, states with nuclear weapons are modernizing their arsenals. The UN holds a clear position, developing new weapon systems, expanding their strategic role, or increasing nuclear arsenals in any way can only negatively impact global stability. For example, it may erode commitments made under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, which is broadly recognized as the cornerstone of non-proliferation and disarmament regime. There have also been positive developments. the extension of the New START Treaty by the Russian Federation and the United States will buy precious time to negotiate further reductions. And this past January, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, or TPNW, entered into force. It represents a strong statement by many states about the acute dangers caused by nuclear weapons and the need to urgently seek their elimination. So how can young people help advocate for progress? Through my office's award-winning outreach initiative, #Youth for Disarmament, we continue to prioritize engaging, educating, and empowering young people. The #Youth for Disarmament initiative has been working with various partners to achieve progress, and I was delighted to learn that the Critical Issues Forum recently featured the UN Youth Champions for Disarmament as part of its speakers series. I would like to leave you with 3 suggestions for action. First, engage on the opportunities offered by the #Youth for Disarmament initiative, such as the What If Spestera Youth Video Challenge, launched 2 days ago. Second, continue to acquire knowledge and skills as you are going through this forum, possibly by taking some of the free short courses that the United Nations offers on its disarmament education dashboard. And most important, put your knowledge into practice to make this world safer, more secure, and sustainable for all. Nuclear weapons are a global problem that require a global commitment to address. I am sure that through your discussions at this conference, you will highlight new ideas to make sure that these inhumane and indiscriminate arms are never used again and are one day eliminated. With your power to change minds, you can help bring us all closer to a more peaceful and secure world. I wish you all a successful, productive conference, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. The United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs is great partner of the CNS, especially in the field of youth education. So we look forward to our continuing partnership. Now, I would like to introduce our founding director of the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, Dr. William Potter, to give you welcome remarks and introduction to the keynote speaker. Dr. Potter, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Masako. It's a great pleasure to be here today. I'm particularly delighted to hear my good friend, the High Representative, speak. I wish she were here in person, but it's always good to hear her. It's also really a tremendous pleasure to see old friends from Russia, from Japan, and also from the United States gathered here today. And I really appreciate particularly those participants from Russia because of the very, very early morning hours. Let me say just a few words by way of introduction. And some of you have heard this story before, but I think it's relevant for the theme today. It's now actually almost a quarter of a century since we launched the Critical Issues Forum. And we did so because I had an opportunity now 25 years ago to address a conference in Monterey, a local conference, in which I was asked to kind of highlight the major proliferation challenges that we faced in the world and what we might do about them. And I laid out in some detail the grave situation which we faced at the time, although I would argue it's far graver today. And then we had an interesting Q&A session. There must have been 100 or more people there. But what was most striking was that there were 3 young women high school students who turned out they were all seniors at a local Monterey High. And they all basically had the same question. And that question was, you've laid out, Professor Potter, all of these very difficult nuclear challenges. Why have we not been exposed to these issues in our high school education? We're graduating this year, and what you've told us is all new. That shouldn't be the case. And I confessed then, and I confess now, not having a very good answer to that, to that question. And so I brought this to my staff, and the initial reaction on the part of my staff was that this is something that is beyond our abilities, and it's beyond the abilities of young people to comprehend. So let's not waste our time with it. Let's continue to focus on graduate students and policymakers. But I didn't accept that answer, and so I, fortunately, in this instance, insisted that we needed to address this challenge. And it was out of this challenge that we launched the Critical Issues Forum. And we've been conducting it ever since. We've been very, very fortunate over the years to have some of the most distinguished individuals internationally join us for this conversation. As Masako remembers, we had a particularly interesting session with Director General Yukiya Amano in Vienna. We had another fascinating session with former Secretary of Defense Bill Perry in Monterey not that long ago. We also had a session with the Japanese Foreign Minister. And so we're particularly privileged today to carry on that tradition by bringing real-world policymakers with a great deal, a wealth of experience to join you for our conversation. Today, it's my great privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Governor Jerry Brown. I think many of you know him because of his role as the most, in my view, the most distinguished governor of California. Not only was he the youngest governor of California, but he turned out to be the oldest governor of California because he served for such an extended period of time. But I think what probably most distinguishes the governor is his passion for dealing with existential threats today. And one of those challenges about which he is passionate is how to reduce the risks that we face with respect to nuclear weapons. I know that he also is committed to working with young people to address this issue. And so it's my great privilege this afternoon in Monterey to ask my friend and distinguished colleague, Governor Jerry Brown, to share with us his reflections on the existential threats that we have to address today. Thank you very much. And Governor, we look forward to your remarks.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And what a topic, and what a group here. So many young people who are going to inherit this world. So we better do everything we can to make sure there's a world to inherit. Now, I'm speaking to you from my ranch, where my great-grandfather first took up residence in 1879. It wasn't a few years before that this particular place was initiated. And prior to that, say like 1840, this was Native Americans, not natives. They were native. They weren't Americans. There was no America. Just Native peoples. And about 300,000 people lived throughout all of California. And they lived here for thousands of years. We know that some Native people came from Asia and got to this part of the North America as long ago as 15,000 years. I don't know how long they were in California, but you know it's thousands of years. And then sometime in the 1800s, all of a sudden catastrophe, actually before the 1800s, when the Europeans came. And it wasn't long before the disease, and then later during the gold rush, outright murder, reduced the population, eliminated, killed somewhere between 80 and 85% of the people. Now, just think in your mind, how would it be to be in a culture and in a place where everything's been going on in a certain way for as long as anyone can remember? And then all of a sudden, people from you didn't even know from where, don't look the same, don't talk the same, come and essentially eliminate their very basis. So I say that, by the way, then after them came pioneers. Where we're sitting now was a lively hotel with dozens of families, a school, a cemetery, post office, barbershop, and all that went away because the price of farm commodities, the attractiveness of the city, the lack of water, the depletion of the soil by the then farming practices, all push people off the land. And so now there's no one living here except me. And all my neighbors run cattle. So there's cows. There's cows right outside here. And then you have just the wild creatures. So what the point I want to make is that what is doesn't necessarily mean what will be. And we in our world of power, in America, in Japan, and in Russia, there's so much power. There's so much technology. There's so much comfort. Of course, there's suffering and loneliness and all the problems that humankind faces. But nevertheless, we're in a world that seems so secure because every day we get up and we can turn the lights on, we can put gasoline in our car, and we can carry on. But we know from history, I know from my own land where I am, and I see traces of native peoples. We can walk along the land and pick up arrowheads and other remnants of these former people, that civilizations can terminate in various ways. So when we talk about nuclear weapons, and we talk about the thousands of nuclear weapons that currently exist, and we talk about the number of warheads that are on missiles that are on hair trigger alert. I mean, it's good to just kind of rub your nose into that reality. This is profoundly serious stuff. Now, the fact we've lived with it for all these years, 75 years plus from the time the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So we think, well, it's not going to happen. But it could happen. And that morning in Hiroshima, they weren't expecting this mushroom cloud that wrecked such horror in just a few minutes. And we're not expecting anything. But as we speak, the capacity to annihilate hundreds of millions of people, if not billions, is in the hands of a couple of people, Putin, Biden, and even the lesser people can start some kind of conflict that could escalate. So we're on a precipice, and that's exactly the name of a book, by the way, by a scholar from Oxford called The Precipice. It's been reviewed in the New Yorker and in the New York Review of Books, but it's rather an ominous kind of report. In this book, by the way, Toby Ord, the author, is from an Oxford group for the study of existential problems, study of the future of humanity. And in this book, he says, in the 20th century, I estimate the chance of extinction of humanity or the collapse of civilization at 1 in 100. But in this century, where we are right now, I estimate the risk of extinction or civilizational collapse at 1 in 6. So we're looking at something real. To listen to our leaders, you wouldn't get that impression because all the stuff that's coming out of Washington, I can't speak as much from Tokyo and Moscow. Of course, the leaders of America and Japan just met. I don't know, did they talk about any of this? I don't remember hearing it. So the leaders who have the power to end it all, and if these antagonisms that we know historically can develop very quickly, if they reach a certain point, we will be in to a nuclear exchange. So that's why this meeting today, talking about nuclear weaponry, the threat of nuclear systems, and in the face of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, that in Article 6 says that these powers, these 9 powers that have nuclear weapons, are obligated to negotiate in good faith on getting rid of these nuclear weapons, on disarmament. Well, they're not doing that. America is talking about, they've already funded last year a new weapon system. They're talking about a modernization that will go on for 3 decades. They spend probably at least $1.5 trillion. In Russia, there's 5 separate systems in various stages of development. And Great Britain, the civilized country, just says, oh, they need 40 more nuclear weapons. Are they a signatory to Article 6? Is America? Is Russia? They're not following it. I mean, we talk about the UN, but I don't see that the Non-Proliferation Treaty, Article 6, is of great importance to those who have nuclear weapons. So you, who are going to inherit this earth, who have so much more time to live than I do, you have to be galvanized, mobilized to do everything you can to wake up the politicians, the leaders. And the first thing we got to do is start talking about it and to think about this weapon system. And it's not just Russia and the US, it's France and Great Britain, it's Israel, it's India and Pakistan, it's China, and now Iran is wanting to do this, and maybe others. So it's a great moment that we put a stop to more nuclear weapons. We engage in serious reduction. And in this, I don't want to say everybody's the same. But I will say that if you say, whose fault is it? I will say this, that all sides are contributing to the building of more nuclear weaponry. All sides are engaging in the generation of fear on the part of their competitors and their adversaries. So it is incumbent upon each country, each leader, and upon all of you to do whatever we can to get clarity, common sense to prevail. And the hour is late. And by the way, nuclear is just one thing. We have the threat of climate. We have to take action. The world has to take action on that. We have the threat now of pandemics and also bio threats from terrorism. We have the threat of cyber that some people say could initiate a nuclear exchange in some technological intervention. And then we have the artificial intelligence, which the author of the book, The Precipice, says is the most dangerous in the future of technology to the continuation of humankind. And then, of course, we have space, which is being militarized. President Trump was very proud to start a space army, as it were. Well, it is. And so here we are. And while we're here, we're talking. So that's all to the good. But I don't think we should ever rest in the complacency that it hasn't happened yet. Therefore, it won't happen. People invoke this concept called deterrence, that if we scare the other side and they scare us, we won't do anything stupid. Well, I'm not so confident about that, because you can have a mistake. You can have some breakdown, some miscalculation that you weren't counting on. And that's why when you go back and look at World War I, they're still writing books. They've written hundreds and hundreds of books. How did this thing get going? Well, why did this happen? It was so stupid. Why did these European powers engage in all that? But they did. And if we have some nuclear exchange, if there's anybody left, they'll write the same number of books on this nuclear breakdown as they did in World War I. So The opportunity now is to prevent it. First of all, you've got to learn. Then you have to find ways of bringing this to the attention. If you're in America, you're a member of Congress, your newspaper, you can write. You can even look at Greta. Who is she? She just all of a sudden took action by her inspiration. And there's somebody listening who may have the inner resources to step out and speak and do things in a way that will attract other people. You know, why Greta? Why these leaders? Why Martin Luther King? Why the prophets of old? Because something takes place in a rather mysterious way. And it may be happening today. Someone may feel called or motivated or in some way be able to see with insight, yes, I can do more. I can do things. I can join with others. So that's the goal. The complexity of nuclear armaments added to the complexity of cyber, added to the pressures of climate change is going to make everything more difficult. So the hour is late, but it's still possible. We still have people in Washington, in Tokyo, and in Beijing. These people are rational. And I think that with the right leadership, with the right inspiration, that the people of the world can take the steps to pull us back from the brink. And that is the task. It's nothing less. We're at the brink, we're at the precipice, and it's up to all of us in whatever way we can to inspire others as well as ourselves to do more until finally we put this genie of nuclear danger locked up in a way that it can't threaten humanity anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. That was so inspiring speech. So we have received several questions from students. So Governor kindly agreed to answer some questions. Thank you so much. So may I call some students who sent me the question? First, I have a student from Harker. Chris, would you like to ask a question?
Yep. Hi, Governor. Great speech. I just had a quick question. What motivated you to become interested in nuclear nonproliferation? And as the former governor of California, how did you try to pursue this passion through policies and different things?
Well, taking the last question first, as governor, I advocated for the nuclear freeze, which actually passed in a vote of the people of California by a small margin. But it didn't go anywhere. But I guess it did go somewhere because it helped build the awareness. In Central Park in New York, 1 million people gathered, and soon Reagan and Gorbachev came to Reykjavik and took the steps that definitely lowered the threat level. So that was good. How I got interested, yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, I remember the day that the bomb dropped. I got the report that an atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. I didn't know what an atomic bomb was, but I know it was supposed to be something very big and very horrible. But that wasn't the moment. I was only 7 years old then. What got me interested was the atmospheric testing and the efforts to stop the radioactivity that fell out of the sky because of nuclear tests, the debates of Professor Teller and Linus Pauling. I read those debates when I was a young Jesuit seminarian in the 1950s. And but perhaps it came from my own interest in religion, theology, the study of the ultimate issues, the ultimate things. Some people call them the 4 last things. Well, nuclear sounded like an ultimate thing. These nuclear bombs go, it did seem like Armageddon. And therefore, I wanted to do something to stop it. So it probably came from my focus on the larger religious theological issues, and then the analogy to what is apocalyptic or catastrophic, because that has a kind of theological aura to it, because it's an ultimate experience. So all of that inclined me to oppose nuclear tests and nuclear weapons. And when I was governor, I had contact with the Carter administration and the Secretary of Defense, and I supported actively the SALT II agreement, which after Carter left and Reagan came in, it didn't go anywhere, but it ultimately was replaced by something even more far-reaching. So that's my background in the nuclear field. And also, I've written some things. I wrote an article that you can get on my webpage, jerrybrown.org, called Nuclear Addiction, which I wrote in 1984 in answer to the Reagan nuclear arms buildup. And that's when I wrote about the addictive quality of the building and competition of nuclear weaponry. And I also wrote a review in the New York Review of Books of Bill Perry's book, My Journey at the Brink. And just as I use the word at the precipice, Bill Perry, who was Secretary of Defense of America, says he was at the brink, and he uses the present tense. So all those factors are enough to get us focused.
Great. Thank you so much. So actually, I have a lot of questions coming up. So I'm trying to have some diversity. So now I would like to ask a student from Japan, Natsu Obata from Nagasaki. Would you like to ask a question? Natsu.
Leaders can develop nuclear teams, and do you think poor and small countries could be a leader?
Yes, and small countries already have supporting the total ban on nuclear weapons. So yeah, I think pressure is needed. Awareness, clarity. The world's leaders are highly irresponsible. I know we're supposed to be respectful, and I'll be respectful of the world leaders. When I say world leaders, I mean of Russia, China, Japan, the United States. And the leaders are carrying on in ways that ignore the danger of mistake, of blunder, that might lead the world to some kind of nuclear exchange. And therefore, the people of the world are obligated, and I would urge that they take action, and certainly small countries, there's dozens of countries, but they should make it plain that they want America and Russia to reverse the arms race. And we can say similar to Pakistan and India, and we can say it to others. I mean, Great Britain does not need any more nuclear weapons, and people ought to tell them that. But because everyone wants to be diplomatic and polite, we all keep quiet. But to keep quiet too long may result in nuclear catastrophe. So I say, speak out, whether you're a small country, a large country, or an individual. It takes mobilization. It can happen. The women's movement developed. The movement of freedom in South Africa developed. The environmental movement has developed. So we just have to bring home the nuclear danger to more people. And I would say at this moment, very few people want to talk about nuclear weapons. This is what I find. They want to change the topic, but this is where people, your leaders, have to make people confront the danger that the current leaders of the nuclear states are presenting to the rest of the world as well as themselves.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a great question and a great answer. Thank you. So I would like to ask Sabahat from Chot Rosemary. Sabahat, would you like to ask a question? Can you please? Okay, you want to unmute and ask
Sure.
question.
Thank you, Governor. My question is, what are some steps that you think will help achieve nuclear nonproliferation on the federal level, particularly given today's bipartisan climate? Thank you.
I'd say number one, for the Democratic Party to wake up and start doing something. The last arms budget had a very small debate on the nuclear budget and a new weapon system, a cruise missile system, I believe. And only 14 people voted no. And yet I think they should have all voted no. So I would say the first step is to get the Democrats and even the liberal Democrats, even the Bernie Sanders Democrats, they're quiet. For some reason, people are afraid to raise the nuclear issue. And maybe because the nuclear arms industry has powerful lobbyists, and maybe because of the power of maybe the big media, the Washington Post, the New York Times. Maybe they'll say you're too radical, or you're strange. You're not a normal American. But people have to be bold enough to step out and challenge the complacency that is pervasive in the Democratic Party, and certainly true in most of the Republican Party, and in these other countries as well.
Okay, thank you, Governor. So now I would like to call on Japanese school, Takeshi Shimohara, Soka High School. Would you like to ask a question? Shimohara, Mr. Shimohara,
Yes, yes.
Okay, you want to unmute and ask a question.
You have used an expression that both sides for representing US and Russia.
Right. Well, both sides have nuclear weapons. Both sides have presidents that can fire the nuclear weapons without anybody stopping them. And if they do, millions of people can die. So, and both sides are building more nuclear weapons, different nuclear weapons, instead of trying to reduce the ones they have. And they're carrying on all manner of activity and not speaking about nuclear danger in the way that the nuclear danger actually exists. So in effect, our leaders are covering up the reality of the nuclear threat. And it's up to each of you, anyone who can understand this, to expose the cover-up, because it's ultimately going to result in catastrophe if the leaders don't reverse course and find a way. But they each comfort themselves by pointing the finger. Biden says Mr. Putin is a killer. And Mr. Putin says, well, it takes one to know one. And he could mention the Iraq War and all sorts of other things that everybody knows about. And now Japan is neutral, but Japan has influence on America. America counts on Japan. So Japan has voice. So I would like to see the Japanese prime minister, when they're at the White House, saying, Mr. President, we still remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we want you to find a way to reduce nuclear weapons, reduce the danger. Now, maybe that's not polite, but this is not a time to be polite. This is a time to be clear and honest and face the threat that hangs over the world as we speak.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Governor. So I would like to ask Russian student. I got one question from Russian student, Ksenia Kosogorova. Ksenia, are you there? Please
yes, I'm
unmute.
Here.
Yeah, please ask question.
Dear Mr. Brown, I really liked your speech, and I would ask you a question. what is your attitude to dismantling the specialized facilities for production enriched uranium and plutonium? Thank you.
Well, you have a nice complicated question. Are you speaking about a specific facility or the capacity of America and Russia to enrich uranium?
I asked for about facilities.
Well,
Like
you
centrifuges.
are you talking about
Centrifuges.
like Iran, their centrifuges, or are you speaking about America and Russia? Look, I think we should be systematically reducing nuclear capability. So to the extent that enriching uranium leads to more nuclear bombs, I think we ought to bring it to a halt. Now, you got to get some agreement to make that possible. I'd like to see maybe President Biden and President Putin could talk about that. I don't know if that answers. Do you have a further question? Maybe I want to make sure I understood fully what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, I meant where do we need these facilities to how to dismantle those facilities in order to not in order to prevent countries from manufacturing new uranium and plutonium, where all these facilities will go.
Oh, where
like
would you put it?
centrifuges, reprocessing facilities, reactors.
Well, first of all, the nuclear warheads and missiles that were in the Ukraine and Belarus were taken down, and the nuclear weapons are destroyed. I'm not sure how they do it, but I know that thousands of weapons have been destroyed. So the enrichment facilities can be eliminated. But in order to do that, you have to have an agreement that instead of building nuclear weapons, we're going to put a limit and we're going to start reducing them. And eliminating enrichment facilities could be a part of that. Now, I don't know how that works with nuclear power. That's another topic. So to the extent I understand you, this is a subject that Putin and Biden ought to be addressing, but I have not heard them talk about it. You're the first person who brought it up. So
Hey,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Governor. So I think we have a lot of questions, but I don't think we have time. But final question, maybe Gabriel Kramer, he has been waiting for patiently. So Gabriel, you want to ask a question? Final question.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Governor Brown. I'm from Monterey High School, and part of our solution, it focused heavily on education and actually we created a piece of legislation that would require comprehensive nuclear education within schools. It's been done before with climate change and ethnic studies. And what kind of strategies would you adopt to bring new kind of legislation to a government's floor?
Well, look, everybody who's got an idea wants to pass a law to require teachers to teach that idea. And I think certainly nuclear danger ought to be part of the American history course. And I think, I'm not sure where it fits in now, but I'm sure you have a member of the Assembly and the State Senate right there in Monterey County. So call them up and tell them that Governor Brown says they need to pass a law to include in the history lesson more honest information about nuclear weapons and their danger.
Thank you. I'll be sure to hear it.
Okay, thank you so much, Governor, for answering so many questions. And in fact, we have received so many great questions. So hopefully we need to have one more session with Governor, maybe in the near future. But I really appreciate, Governor, your wonderful speech and your encouraging speech and answering a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dr. Porter, would you like to give another word for the governor, or can I just move to the next?
I think, I very much appreciated the governor joining us today, but I look forward to hearing from our students. I know they've been working hard this past semester, and so I think it would be great if we could listen to them and perhaps learn something from the work that they've been undertaking.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. So now I would like to move to the selected schools presentations. So, but before I give the microphone to the first presenter, I would like to acknowledge that excellent work done by all the participating schools. Each one of the schools completed their final project, and all of their video presentations are posted on our online education platform. And participating schools have watched other schools' presentations. I believe that everyone received a conference booklet where you can find each school's final project. So I wanted to invite you to take a look at their presentation online. This year, we have 13 schools to participate in the CIF project. From the US, Chott Rosemary Hall from Connecticut, the Harker School from San Jose, Madeira School from Virginia, Montreal High School in Montreal, Rock University High School from Janesville, Wisconsin, and the York School in Montreal, California. And from Japan, Hiroshima Jogakuin Senior High School in Hiroshima, Kansai Soka Senior High School in Osaka, Kasui High School in Nagasaki, Nagasaki Higashi High School in Nagasaki, and Soka Senior High School in Tokyo. And from Russia, school number 41 in Novorossiysk, and school number 164 in Zelenogorsk. Congratulations to all the schools. You really did amazing work overcoming many difficult challenges. So now I would like to introduce the first student presenters. So this is a joint presentation by Russia and American high schools. Harker School from San Jose and school number 164 from Zelenogorsk will present their final project titled Non-Proliferation Education and Raising Public Awareness to Promote a Nuclear-Free World. So students from Harker and Zelenogorsk, the microphone is yours. So take it away.
Okay. We are the students of the Harker School in the United States and of Zelenogorsk Gymnasium in Russia. We present our project toward a world free of nuclear weapons, the role of youth as change agents in an age of global crisis. For us, the students who represent the Gymnasia and Zelenogorsk this year, such a collaboration was the first time. At first, we experienced a lot of anxiety related to the lack of confidence in our English. In the course of the project, this feeling gradually receded, and we began to communicate with the students of the Harker School in Discord. We discussed the details of our project at joint meetings in the Zoom. We believe this format is great for international communications. Both sides of the project took a responsible approach to the implementation of their part. Each of us tried to contribute to the final product. Of course, we have obstacles. Firstly, for us, students of the Gymnasia, English isn't our native language, and we often doubt it. Secondly, there is a time zone difference between our schools, the difference in 15 hours. Thirdly, it was a novelty for us to communicate and work together with the students from another country. However, despite all the challenges, we are able to work fruitfully and get rid of obstacles. We think this collaboration is very important. We not only did the project, but work in a team contacting students from another country. For us, this project has become an incentive to learn more about non-proliferation issues and to improve our English. We are confident that in the state of the world in which we live now, such projects help to get know people from another country better, to realize that we are all people and we live on the same planet and don't want our world to be destroyed because of our differences.
For the students from the Harker School, this was also our first time collaborating with students from another country. We also did face the same anxiety about how to communicate with one another. As Anya said, there was almost a 15-hour time difference and we spoke different first languages. And so at the beginning, everyone would be really quiet on Zoom. And Nelly and Dr. Nelson would have to get us to speak with one another. But as Anya said, we used the platform Discord, which helped us communicate with one another and get to know each other better. And we also used breakout rooms so we could get to know one or two students particularly a little better. We really did come together as one, despite the thousands of miles between us, to put together this presentation for you. We're really proud of our successful collaboration, and although we wish that we could be together in person, our weekly meetings helped mitigate the barriers that existed between us. So as Anya said, we're all people, and we've taken a massive step to ensure that the world of our future isn't torn apart due to the miscommunication and differences between our countries. So with that, I'd like to show you the video we made for CIF this year.
One of the primary ways that we can spread the importance of nuclear non-proliferation is through educating the youth. Once young students develop a strong understanding of the world around them, they can often be the most powerful and passionate members of society. Currently, most governments don't realize the importance of actively educating the youth, and instead they spend over $494 billion on maintaining nuclear weapons and material. This situation at hand will not make any progress unless we involve our young students in high school and college to be the center of attention for non-proliferation. Educating the youth can take place in a variety of forms, and I will list three main ways this can be done on not only a regional level but also an international scheme amongst countries. The first way could be through grassroots movements, where various protests could be conducted and perhaps led by young students who are teenagers. Not only would this allow teenagers to peacefully protest and fight for topics that are important and meaningful to them, but it would also give them an opportunity to lead in different topics and be a leader. The second way we can involve the youth into non-proliferation is by providing direct education. Nuclear non-proliferation could be embedded into school content or curriculum, such as in specific subjects like history, and students can simply gain more awareness and knowledge through this. Additionally, monthly workshops or speaker events can be conducted for students to learn more about non-proliferation. The last way, or third way, that I propose for the non-proliferation for the youth education could be through direct involvement in the government. Students can engage in programs that practice lobbying for government and different politicians that advocate for non-proliferation. In fact, the UN themselves directly state in their website that the youth should be lobbying policymakers and parliamentarians to implement just and transparent laws that prevent governments from patronizing the most powerful weapon manufacturing and instead use the resources for more important issues like healthcare, education, and job creation. Overall, youth education and activism can have a significant impact on nuclear non-proliferation, and this agenda should definitely be pursued.
Social media can be an effective tool for raising awareness of nuclear non-proliferation among people of all demographics, as social media platforms such as Instagram and Twitter allow people of different ages, nationalities, and backgrounds to connect and share ideas. According to a Pew Research Center study conducted in 2019, around 70% of all US adults use social media, and as can be seen from this graph, this number continues to grow. Furthermore, 90% of Americans between the ages 18 and 29 use at least one social media site, showing how social media can be an effective way to raise awareness among youth, which as stated before can have a great impact. Additionally, data has shown that social media usage remains relatively consistent among various demographics, such as between men and women, as well as people of different races, education levels, and locations. Finally, this graph shows that people check their social media daily or at least weekly. And this consistent use of social media is another reason why it can be an effective tool for spreading awareness and gathering support for the nuclear non-proliferation movement.
Data has shown that social media usage remains relatively consistent among men and women, as well as people of different races, education levels, and locations, such as urban versus rural. Since there are completely different demographics to evaluate and completely different results regarding them, we should pursue social media with the intent of not being restricted to a certain platform and appealing to all kinds of audiences. An example of this might be accessible texts, translation into different languages, posting on sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and potentially even making TikToks to inform young adults and teens about the structural issues that exist in our modern world. Social media is often the most effective way at reaching a broader audience without having to travel or put up ads, since many people still check their feed and use various platforms daily. CIF members can also post on their own social media to help raise awareness about CIF and trying to reduce nuclear proliferation.
Activism is a kind of voluntary activities that could be done by individuals, schools, and organizations. An example of activism at the level of schools and children can be participation in CIF. The students study nuclear weapons, discuss disarmament, nuclear weapons past, present, and future. After that, they share results of their works with other people at CIF conferences. The students made a list of recommendations for USA and Russia, so these countries could restore their relations. The other year, participants of CIF created a collection of posters to influence governments and civil society of those states that do not support treaty on prohibition of nuclear weapons.
The CTBTO youth group opens to all students wishing to contribute to global peace and security and to be engaged in promotion the CTBT and verification regime is a bright example. Many of our schoolmates expressed their wish to become part of this program. Unfortunately, high school students are not able to register for this program, although they can also participate in its work. We hope necessary changes to the registration process can be done. Children from Zelenogorsk made a lot of paper cranes and exchanged them around the Peace Day. International Day of Abolition of Nuclear Weapons is traditionally observed in our school with various activities, movie screening, friends conferences, and so on.
We contacted several critical issues forum alumni from our school. Former participants of CIF strongly believe that conferences help them to improve their knowledge about nuclear weapons and non-proliferation, and spread information amongst their friends in order to enlarge social interest to the problem. Moreover, this program taught our students how to connect with people from different countries. Teenagers from our school consider that CIF can help to prevent future crises, avoiding mistakes of previous generations.
Prominent examples of individual efforts to save the world from nuclear weapons are the Jules-Pfeiffer Project and the Russell Speech. In 1954, shocked by the test of a hydrogen bomb, Bertrand Russell made the famous Threat to Humanity speech on British radio. Cartoonist and author Jules Pfeiffer founded the New York City PND chapter in collaboration with other artists to mobilize people in the performing arts to help the ongoing drive toward mass destruction. In 1983, the New York City PND chapter sponsored a series of travel and theatrical performances intending to provoke a dialogue about nuclear disarmament. Many people who hadn't previously realized the scale of the threat were interested in this issue.
Soon, Frederick Joliot Curie with Russell prepared a statement about the danger of nuclear war. It was this manifesto that made thousands of people think about their future, that people should end nuclear weapons before they end us. The last phrase is the motto of the project of two non-governmental organizations, I Can and Back from the Brink. One of the main achievements of the I Can is the adoption of the UN Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. ICANN was one of the main initiators of the negotiations to agree on the text of the agreement. Also, ICANN is trying to focus the debate on nuclear disarmament on the threat that weapons of mass destruction pose to humanity.
The Nuclear Design Campaign is a British organization that advocates of the unilateral nuclear disarmament of the United Kingdom, International Nuclear Disarmament. The organization relies on the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Its aim is abolition of the usage of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and the construction of nuclear power plants in the United Kingdom. Soka Gakkai International takes an active part in public education activities, paying attention to peace and disarmament issues. The organization created an exhibition from a culture of violence to a culture of peace, towards a nuclear weapon-free world, at the Vienna International Center.
The Nuclear Threat Initiative Index has sparked international discussions about strengthening security and is encouraging governments to take actions to reduce risks. The NTI Index is recognized as the premier tool for tracking progress on nuclear security. The main research program of the Peer Center is the program Russia and Nuclear Non-Proliferation, in which they implement a number of scientific and applied projects. For example, they studied the development of the situation around the Iranian nuclear program, the development of nuclear energy in the Middle East, the place and role of Russia in the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons.
Mayors for Peace is the initiative of the mayor of Hiroshima in Japan. The campaign is designed to build solidarity and facilitate coordination among the cities that support the idea of the total abolition of nuclear weapons. After 2 years of hard work, starting in the fall of 2005 and continuing today, all 11 mayors of Western countries have joined Mayors for Peace. This stimulated some legislative measures, and the resolution on the abolition of nuclear weapons was introduced by 2020.
Hello, I'm Tiffany. I was a participant in the Critical Issues Forum in 2016, representing the Harker School. Although my academic and career interests have taken many turns since I did CIF, I can attest that CIF was a valuable and formative experience in my high school education. As a high schooler, I knew I was interested in global affairs, global governance, and international cooperation. Presenting at the CIF conference helped me meet like-minded folks who cared about global issues and could share their unique perspectives from their own countries or from their own schools. Most of all, CIF as a whole enlightened me to how important it is for countries to set aside their differences and cooperate on life and death matters. Even if you don't wind up specializing in non-proliferation issues, I think the subject matter expertise that you gain working on non-proliferation issues serves as a really good building block if you want to learn about other global issues like trade, development, cross-cultural exchange, and others. Overall, I think initiatives like CIF are important because they help students develop a sense of global consciousness.
I think one of the options can be to have more events with alumni, simply because I think that this format the CIF has right now brings up the core of the future advocates for nuclear non-proliferation, where we, as those who have already gained the knowledge and the inspiration, will share it with others and make people aware of this problem.
The fate of our world depends on us, and we need to know how to save our planet from consequences of nuclear weapons.
Probably CIF can engage more adults and thus appeal to more people and be more ubiquitous. This would have helped to advocate peace and non-proliferation.
I think Critical Issues Forum is really important because we are the generation of the future, and education in this sphere in general can help us.
Okay, so as mentioned in our video, education can be crucial to spread the importance of nuclear nonproliferation. And to briefly recap some of the solutions in the video, grassroots movements, educational workshops, and direct involvement with the government can all be crucial ways for developing nonproliferation education. And overall, as shown in our collaboration with Zelenorg Gymnasia, working with other ethnic groups can be a great way to spread awareness between cultures, especially in the realm of nonproliferation.
We also believe in the power of activism to mobilize youth awareness, since currently we simply don't see sufficient information about the history of nuclear weapons or its current threat today, whether that is in our classrooms or on popular online platforms. However, as our research video has shown, a majority of all age demographics utilize social media, especially amongst the youth. Therefore, we believe that harnessing social media will be vital in promoting organizations and campaigns and connecting and educating our age demographic. Working together as students from opposite sides of the globe was a gratifying experience, and we hope that international cooperation and communication such as ours can continue in the future to carry on the message of CIF.
To crown it all, we think that our work is an example of good cooperation between the United States and Russia. Despite the situation in the world related to COVID-19, we have done a productive job. Being separated by thousands of miles and 14 hours of difference, being representatives of completely different cultures, religion, even alphabet, we found out there are more things that unite than divide us. We believe our countries have to cooperate. As two nuclear powers, we are more responsible for the nuclear non-proliferation than others. Also, if young people of the USA and Russia combine their efforts, the world does have a better chance to get rid of nuclear weapons and to ensure our safe future.
Okay, thank you so much, Hacker and Zelenogorsk students. Thank you so much. It is so inspiring to see US and Russian students collaborating for a world free of nuclear weapons. You are really our future. So now I would like to move to the second presentation from Hiroshima. Hiroshima Jogakuin Senior High School will present their final project titled Increase Ratifying Countries of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So Hiroshima Jogakuin students, I know you are from many different places, so wave. Hiroshima Jogakuin students, okay? So now I'm going to give you the microphone. Take it away, Hiroshima Jogakuin students.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I will share my screen and we'll start the presentation. Hello, we're students from Hiroshima Jogakuin High School. Our topic for the 2021 CIF project is the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, also known as the Ban Treaty or the TPNW. Today, we will talk about how we could increase the number of ratifying countries. First, we would like to briefly introduce our school and some activities that we do. We will do the presentation in this order. As you all know, Hiroshima was the first city to be ever attacked by the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, 8:15 a.m., the center of Hiroshima was attacked by a nuclear weapon. At that moment, people within 0.5 kilometers were killed immediately. Half of the people within 1 kilometer were killed, and buildings within 2 kilometers were burnt completely. A sea of fire spread. Buildings within 3 kilometers were partly destroyed, and trees and clothes were burnt. It was said that for the next 75 years, no trees or grass would grow. But luckily, there were some trees that survived the bombing and helped Hiroshima recover quickly.
There is a cenotaph in the center of the Peace Memorial Park to remember those who died. On the stone, it says, "Please rest in peace. We will never repeat the mistake." There are many schools and students who were killed in the bombing. Our school, Hiroshima Jogakuin High School, is located about 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers away, and was destroyed as well. Jogakuin was founded in 1886 by Teikichi Tsunamoto, and this year marks the 135th anniversary. During the war, male students were forced to go to the battlefield, and female students to work in the city, instead of getting an education. 351 students and teachers of Hiroshima Jogakuin died in the bombing. We have a cenotaph to never forget our loss.
There are many peace activities at our school. One of them is a club called Global Issues or GI, which we belong to. We have learned a lot of things about peace. There is also a club called Signature Committee. Members of this club collect signatures for several treaties about nuclear disarmament at the Peace Memorial Park and around the city. Furthermore, Ms. Setsuko Thaler is a graduate student of our school. In 2018, she came back to her alma mater and we had an exchange meeting. She talked about her atomic bomb experiences and the stories of ICANN. After the meeting, the students had time to meet with her. It was very meaningful. We learned about the TPNW from her and have been interested in this topic since then.
To get more countries involved in the TPNW, we have two new ideas. First, we will add number 18 to the SDGs, Peaceful World Without Nuclear Weapons, following the example of the Bonn Treaty.
There is no goal that refers directly to nuclear weapons in the SDGs. Many of the SDGs are related to the war and peace, but none of them specifically mention nuclear weapons.
So we think it is important to add a new goal about nuclear weapons to promote the TPNW. We suggest making a new 18th goal, Peaceful World Without Nuclear Weapons. Of course, there are a lot of countries that have no nuclear weapons in the world. However, as we are all aware, even one powerful nuclear weapon could impact the whole world. Therefore, it affects everyone. The goal is to create a world without nuclear weapons. To prove this, each country has to work for this goal.
First of all, it is important for us to take action. To make a new goal as a first step, we will use the name of SDGs, Future City of Japan. What SDGs, Future Cities? These are 29 cities which were decided by the Prime Minister of Japan. Then the government named the city which achieves excellent initiatives SDGs, Future Cities. It leads to deepening regional revitalization. The purpose is to promote successful cases by selecting 29 cities that propose excellent efforts with SDGs. Hiroshima is one of the cities. So we will use the name of SDGs Future City to promote the TPNW.
Now we would like to introduce companies all over the world that cooperated with SDGs in 1990. When we researched in the top 100 companies, there were only 23 countries. 20 of the 23 countries were developed countries. 4 of them were nuclear weapon states. In addition, the OECD, which includes many developed countries with nuclear weapons, has a high level of achievement of the SDGs target overall. For this reason, in order to raise awareness of the Bonn Treaty, we believe that promoting the SDGs as a medium will be effective. Next, we will talk about the merits for companies to join SDGs. We can see this from 3 points of view: environmental, economical, and social. By conducting business in line with the SDGs, we can reduce our environmental impact by reducing our use of electricity, gas, and other forms of energy, and by engaging in energy-saving activities.
Second, there is an expectation to improve sales or profits and to reduce cost or energy. By promoting new business, new products, and services which are kind to the environment, companies will be approved as a company which is good for society and the environment. So it improves their ability. We expect companies will increase their sales and profits. Also, we can reduce costs by resource and energy saving to reduce environmental burden.
Third, it can reduce employment cost. This is because we can improve the level of satisfaction of staff and prevent coworkers from quitting by providing a workplace with giving a good working environment and humanness.
In short, SDGs have many merits. We think it is good for companies. We will approach them. Companies have a great influence on many sides, so if the foundation for the economy works well, the level of achievement will be high. Since SDGs have many merits, we are sure that we will move it forward involving many companies. We want to increase awareness of the TPNW by adding number 18 to SDGs, peaceful world without nuclear weapons. Our ideal is to recruit member nations of the TPNW.
Our second suggestion is to have an opinion sharing convention. We think it is very effective to express our own thoughts to each other, regardless of the situations between each country, when we discuss joining the TPNW. So, the goal we hope is having our own opinions. To reach the goal, we should make our own opinions clear because vague ones can't persuade others. Learning new perspectives and different cultures can improve our own opinions, so listening to opinions from overseas is necessary. However, feeling uneasy about other countries prevents progress and makes discussions more difficult.
Therefore, what we have to do before talking about these positive things is improving our feelings with the country in conflict by talking about how they feel. After that, we can resolve misunderstandings, feel at ease with each other, and finally stand at the start line to discuss our main theme, the way to increase the number of countries ratifying the TPNW. Our plan is holding an opinion sharing convention. First, the organizers will ask companies to support us holding this event. Then, people will apply for what countries they want to speak with. They can only choose one.
We will use social networking sites to find people who can join this event. Social networking sites are not only used among people who share the same job or hobby, but they can also be very powerful. For example, social networking services played a major role in the democratic revolutions in Middle Eastern countries known as the Arab Spring, and in the Great East Japan earthquake, when people were able to contact loved ones. We often use Twitter, but looking at the number of monthly SNS users in the world, Facebook is most popular and YouTube is second. I think it is effective to use Facebook, which has a large number of users both in Japan and overseas.
We will have a discussion between country A and country B. Interpreters will be available if participants don't understand the other language. We think it is better to invite exchange students as interpreters. We think they come to the country to learn about the culture, so they can translate perfectly, including idioms and feelings. In other words, participants can realize those meanings easily. People from two different countries have discussions. Our management committee posts a dialogue that will be seen by non-participants through social networking sites. People all over the world can comment and they can also learn the situations of foreign countries. This is our idea to take a step toward peace.
To sum up, our mission is to increase electrifying countries of the TPNW, knowing the tragedy of what happened 75 years ago, and taking over Ms. Sescotharu's hopes of creating a world without nuclear weapons. In order to achieve our goal, we think that increasing the awareness of TPNW, including an 18th target in the SDGs, will promote the name of the treaty. And the new target will work effectively on environmental, economical, and social aspects. In addition, an opinion-sharing convention will solve misunderstanding between countries, but it can improve countries to have a better conversation. Using these two solutions, we came up with the hope to increase number of countries who ratify the TPNW. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Could I just, there was a mistake in our presentation. We said we researched the top 100 companies in 1919, but sorry, it's 2020. We're sorry for the mistake.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, thank you so much for your excellent presentation. So thank you. So let's give all the students a big hand again. Thank you. Great. So now I would like to take a 5 minutes break before we move to a breakout session because we need to set up some breakout rooms. And during the breakout session, all the students will be divided into 10 groups where they can have a small group discussion. So this is a really great opportunity for participants to get to know each other and exchange their opinions candidly with other students and have some cross-cultural communication. So just imagine you are sitting in a beautiful campus in Monterey. And we will have some announcement about the breakout session, some technical issues from Michael Boyce, our graduate research assistant. Michael, could you please explain the breakout session?
Sure, yeah. So when everybody returns in 5 minutes, so that would be 6:30 Pacific time, you should see on your screen an invitation to join a particular breakout room. So if you are a student or teacher, please enter that room. And as Ms. Toki said, please engage in cross-cultural discussion. And
you had an engaging dialogue with other students from other schools and other countries. And I really sincerely hope that the students will stay connected using social media and emails. So you can find all the other students' contact information on the canvas. And I'm terribly sorry that we need to cancel the second breakout session. This is totally my fault, and I'm so sorry. But this is going to be the good motivation for me to encourage you to stay in touch further, even after the conference. So because you really couldn't meet each other. So, but thank you. I hope you had a great time. So now I would like to move to the final concluding part of this online conference. Yeah, so we will have an award ceremony. So first, I would like to call each school to virtually present the Award of Excellence to each one of the schools. So I will call the name of schools. And yeah, I will call the name of the schools. And so maybe you can wave. And I would like also mention all of the participating students will receive individual certificate. And furthermore, all the students are designated as the Youth Special Communicators for a world free of nuclear weapons by the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So congratulations. So now I would like to move to the presentation of the Award of Excellence. So Mia, could you please? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call the name of the schools one by one. So first, starting with the United States, Chott Rosemary Hall, Wellington, Connecticut. Congratulations. Okay, the next, the Harker School, San Jose, California. Congratulations. And Madeira School, Virginia, the first time participant. Congratulations. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that Julia's article is going to be published on the Teen blog, I guess, based on her research project. So I'm going to share her article with everybody. Congratulations, Julia.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and the Monterey High School from Monterey, California. Congratulations. And indeed, this is also the first time for Monterey High School to join the Critical Issues Forum, although they are the closest school to our center. So we are looking forward to working with Monterey High School for the long time. Congratulations. Okay, and the Rock University High School, Janesville, Wisconsin. Congratulations, Janesville, Rock University High School. And the York School, Monterey, California. Congratulations, York High School. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the Japan. Hiroshima Jogakuin Senior High School. Hiroshima, congratulations, and thank you for the presentation. Okay, so the next, Kansai Soka Senior High School from Osaka. Congratulations, Kansai Soka. Okay, next, Kasei High School from Nagasaki. Congratulations, Kasei High School.
Thank you.
The next, Nagasaki Higashi High School, Nagasaki. Congratulations. Okay, and Soka Senior High School from Tokyo. Congratulations, Soka Senior High School. And from Russia, school number 41, Novorossiysk. Thank you so much for your participation, waking up so early in the morning, 5 a.m. Thank you so much for your dedication. And the last, but definitely not the least, school number 164, Zelenogorsk. Congratulations. So everybody, congratulations for all of the amazing work. Okay, so now I am very honored to introduce Ms. Sarah Pattison, who is the strongest supporter of this important project. So Ms. Sarah Pattison will give you a closing statement.
Well, thank you so much, Masako. And of course, I've got my husband, Tom, here. It's a real partnership. This is our hobby, is nuclear non-proliferation. And I know that students, most of the CIF students are doing this work as a club after school. This is a labor of love. Really appreciate it. And maybe you'll someday join the ranks of professionals and it'll be your career. I just want to acknowledge the language skills of the Japanese and Russian students. I'm so impressed. And the second thing that impresses me about both of the presentation is realistic, achievable goals that you created yourself, such as expanding the CTBTO to include high school. Totally, I think that's doable. And the Sustainable Development Goals, excellent work with that organization and your convention talking about people need to understand each other. And that's what this program really illustrates, is international understanding. So thank you so much, Masako, for all of your work and for this wonderful opportunity.
And I want to thank everybody, because this is, like Governor Brown emphasized, it's really an important topic, but there's so many other issues. But this one can present the end of the world, and it is so important to raise awareness. And it's been sort of the things that we're not aware, like what we saw in the virus. Those are the things that can come and make a huge difference. And as a physician, prevention is the key. Preventing nuclear war. Once we have one, we're going to have a horrible time of the whole world. So I really appreciate the young students taking the time to think about this issue, because it is important, and you are going to inherit the world, and hopefully the world will be there for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you so much, Sarah and Tom and everybody for your support and participating in this spring conference. And I would also like to thank Dr. Porter for your continuing support and guidance for this important project. Thank you so much. And the students and the teachers, congratulations on all of your excellent work. And the young people in all countries are key change agents for our better future, because history has been always shaped by the power of youth. This year's CIF title said, young people have an important role to play for a world free of nuclear weapons. So let's continue to work together. Thank you so much. So let's keep in touch and we will see you again. Thank you so much. Thank you.